here where I am in the 15th century to wherever you are in the world. I'm about to do a turbo getting dressed in the 15th century alla Fiorentina in the 15th century Florentine style, circa 1480s, because we're about to go down to the river and do some medieval dance reconstruction. And doesn't that sound exciting? Yes, it does. Of course it does. Yeah, so if you have any questions as I'm going through the process, just let me know. I'm just going to make certain that I can see all of the chats. Excellent. Fantastic. Okay. So first step, of course, is the kamicha. That is what this is. It is basically an undershirt and it is made of linen. It has a gathered neckline and sleeves, and it is geometric construction, which means it is basically a series of rectangles. There is a square gore under the arm to allow for flexibility and give it a little bit of shaping down into the waist area. And yes, it's all hand sewn, handmade, etc. I recently just redid the neckline on it. In fact, I did that in one of my live streams. So thank you for joining me, those who just joined. Let me know if you have any questions. Right, so now that we have the kamicha on, we move on to the next layer, which is in the Florentine dialect of Tuscan, called a gamora or a camora, depending on who's spelling it, right? So this is the gamora, right? And I have an entire project log on making this from beginning to end and the very first time getting dressed fully in it, if you want to see a better edited version of getting dressed. It is wool. This is a twill wool, 2-in-1 twill. It is lined in a blue linen in the fashion of extant dresses from this era. The sleeves are of the same color and are whip stitched into place instead of being laced into place, as they often are on Florentine dresses. And I do have different sleeves and I could actually whip stitch a different pair on, but today we're just going with all in the same color, which is often how they're depicted in the 15th century art, actually. So this goes on over the head like this. And just let me know if you have any questions, everyone. And if you're enjoying, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Right, so we gather to put this on. I gather the linen sleeves into my hand like this. And then I just insert all the way through. Like so. Right, and then repeat with the same thing on the other side. Gather into my hands like so, and insert and slide through. And then comes the fiddly bits. To rearrange the kamicha, which, as I said, the most common fabric for the kamicha is linen. There's a very, very few instances of them being made of silk, but for men and women, these undergarments were nearly always made of linen, and that makes sense for many reasons, because linen can be laundered to a fairly well. It can be boiled and turned back into white without damaging it in any way, shape, or form. Silk is a little more fiddly. And also, linen breathes beautifully. It whisks the moisture and heat away from your skin and allows for maximum evaporative cooling. Wool is actually also very good at that. People think wool is a stuffy fabric. It is not, unless it's boiled wool. Then it will be a stuffy fabric. Hello, Julie Malcolm. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, just let me know in the chat. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up, guys, if you're enjoying this process. Okay, so I have here actually a bodkin. This is a reproduction of an original that is found in a portrait of a woman wearing a gamora very similar to this one, actually, by Ghirlandaio. Pretty certain it's Ghirlandaio. I'm 99% certain it's Ghirlandaio. And basically what we do is we have a lace here. This lace is actually silk and it's finger loop braided, and I made it myself. I've been demonstrating finger loop braiding on my Saturday morning / Friday evening live streams, depending on where you are in the world. So if you want to learn how to do that, I also have a video on it, a video tutorial on it. So basically you just insert the lace through the bodkin like this, and then we're going to do what's called spiral lacing. And spiral lacing is basically like whip stitching your dress together. Yeah. Hello, Mistress V. Lovely to see you. So spiral lacing is done by basically starting at the bottom with two parallel, in this case, lacing rings. And these lacing rings are replicas by a company called Billy and Charlie, who do all sorts of replica medieval pewter wares. And then you basically, the rings are then offset, right? So these ones are offset by a 1/2 inch based on the ones on the other side. And that creates a zigzag effect, which is in essence like whip stitching your dress together. But this particular bodice is not designed to close all the way. This is the era in which many ladies all across the various states in Italy are wearing dresses that are intentionally open in the front to show the white of their kamicha underneath, which, you know, that was pretty damn tantalizing in the 15th century, since this really is literally my underwear, right? In the sense of it is the thing most under my clothing and most against my skin. And it takes all the damage from my skin and my body and absorbs it and protects the garments over top of them from said skin.
I'm not hoping that be me.
You know, you could be monitoring this on your device.
No, I can't. You've got my device.
No, I definitely do not.
What'd you do with mine?
It's charging.
Oh.
Okay, so got the spiraling done up here. And the reason I'm getting dressed like this today is that we are going to go down to the river and do some medieval dance reconstruction, continuing the dance we started last week, a very sexy and slow dance called a bassa danza. Hopefully we should finish it. I think we should. We got halfway through last week. And we're starting a bit later this week because it was supposed to rain and I see the sun streaming in. So as always, if you change your plans, the weather will oblige. So the nice thing about finger loop braiding, the kind of lacing that we're using here, is that it has a natural elasticity about it based on the way that you basically weave bows, loops of thread together. So if you get to the top of your lacing and you don't have quite enough, usually you can just pull and it will stretch and adjust. Okay, so there we have, the front is laced up. Next we move on to the sleeves. And this is where I'm going, my condottiero needs to put on a hat, but I'm going to have him come and help me do this. So normally I have a lady in waiting, as they were referred to in the 18th century, a damsel.
People have been saying hi.
A damsel in the 15th century is what a lady in waiting would have been called. And of course, I don't have any here with me. They are all on the other side of the ocean, actually, at this point. But, you know, the thing is that even people live multi-generationally in homes, and so you would never live alone. You would always have at least probably 10 people with you in your home. So there would always be someone to help you get dressed, no matter what your rank or station or socioeconomic status was. In this case, I have a condottiero to help me. So he just, oh, we're doing this off camera. So he's just basically laced it like that. Okay. And now he's going to floof. He's going to zhuzh the linen so that
Tie the lace.
he's going to tie the lace and then zhuzh the linen. Now I actually had better laces for the sleeves and they fell out during transit. Some of you know I travel hundreds of thousands of miles a year, flying to all over the world to events where I'm hired to teach medieval and Renaissance dance and just sort of generally bring the Contessa magic. Unfortunately, that means my clothes go into and out of a lot of suitcases, get hung up and taken off of hangers in a lot of places, and silk laces invariably fall out of their sleeves and so need to be replaced. And right now we have an emergency lace in place, but that's not the best one for the job.
Down there. You've got so much. Ah, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the zhuzhing of the sleeve. This is how you get those pretty white poofs that you see in the portraits. Right? Okay, good enough. Okay, and then he's going to do this sleeve. This one doesn't need to be laced anymore.
It's already laced.
It's already laced, so it just needs to be tied off. Ah, Tommaso, lovely to see you. You look like you walked out of a painting. Very cool. Thank you. That is a life goal I have been working towards and occasionally achieving over the years. So yeah, thank you. That is the purpose, to be a living painting. And in fact, if I go to museums across the world and see European art from various periods of history, invariably I do see me looking back at myself. It's a little eerie. And people will send me photos of statues and effigies and paintings when they see people that look like me, actually, especially with my features. Okay, well, next up, this is the basic look. This is the gamora, the undergown, right? And this is how I would be dressed just fine if I were going to stay at home, but we're going out, so we need another layer. And also, we're going to do something with my hair, but we're going to do something quick with my hair today because we're running a little behind. Okay, so this is a chopa. It has a train. It is made of silk damask. It is lined in the bodice with silk, and then the skirts are unlined. So, lots of evidence of unlined skirts in this era. And this is a very, very simple garment in the sense of it's easy to put on. It just goes over the head, like so. And then it slips on over top of the gamora. And happily, it very neatly clasps in the front. This is a replica of a clasp from a del Verrocchio, very famous del Verrocchio bust, which is in the National Gallery in Washington, D.C., I believe. Okay, so this is now, I am now ready to go into the outside world, except for my hair. We can't go out like this. We have to do something with this hair. Women did not wear their hair down in this era unless they were mourning or being executed. And since I'm in neither of those states, happily, we're going to do something with my hair. Would love that fabric for curtains, Ezra. Yeah, well, it's funny. What we use now for fabric for upholstery was clothing was the pattern for clothing 600 years ago. In fact, most modern upholstery fabrics are replicas of 15th and 16th century or even 17th and 18th century clothing fabric patterns. Because curtains in the Middle Ages didn't exist like we think of them. They had wooden shutters on the windows, but they did have wall hangings exactly like this tapestry you see here. So this was the curtain of the Middle Ages, so to say. Yeah, the pattern of choice. Okay, so we're going to do what's called hair taping, what we call modernly hair taping, to do my hair. And the first thing we do is we create a facial frame. So we've got the front fringe, so to say.
And grab a comb.
So we're going to create a facial frame with the fringe, and then the rest is just going to get basically with ribbon. We're going to sew my hair to the back of my head. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Six Tough. That's really kind. Yeah.
iPhone so you can monitor.
Probably. Yeah. And this hair taping is a technique that we've been doing for years. And there was one event where I didn't have anyone to take the hair taping out after the end of the event because I forgot before we parted ways. And so I ended up flying home in it. And it turned out to be a very protective style for the 30 hours that I spent in an airplane flying from the US to Korea. Because it lasted. It looked really good. It's very durable. So if you ever, ladies, if you're looking for an updo technique that allows you to just put your hair up and leave it, and hair taping is the way. It really is. So basically, you make believe you lived 400 years ago for fun. Nope, I make believe I lived 600 years ago for fun.
500.
Yep.
No, 1480s. 530.
Yep. Yeah. So this outfit, this ensemble and this style of hair dates to basically no one would look askance at it between the years 1470 and sort of 1475 and 1495. They would identify me visually as being from Florence because every city-state in Italy had different variations on the theme. The layers were basically the same, but the specific silhouette and style was slightly different. The hairstyles were slightly different. And in fact, if you look in the inventories and household expense accounts from this era, you see that garments are often labeled as being from a specific geographic region. So you have a gown in the Milanese style, or you have a cloak in the Turkish style. Actually, after 1453, we start seeing these things called torcos much and much more frequently in men's wardrobes, basically. So there's a definite influence when all of those Eastern Romans, as they were called, the Greeks, as they eventually came to be called by the Western Europeans, fled from Constantinople and the other former cities of the Byzantine Empire and set up shop in Western Europe.
Look left.
Look left. Oh, the kitties are just having fun over there on the couch. She keeps trying to bite his testicles. That's not nice, Nobby. Don't do that. No kidding. Oh, DK, no, I'm not. I don't think you're trying to be rude. No, not offended at all. No, not even offended a little bit. Fear not.
She was teasing in her response.
Yeah, no, that was me teasing. It's everyone has their own thing. I've been fascinated by the way people lived, in the past since I was a little girl. The earliest I can remember, I was fascinated by how people lived in the olden days. And eventually I came to realize that my favorite olden days was actually roughly the 15th century. This is a Florentine impression, so sort of 15th century Northern Italian, but I'm also pretty much fascinated by everywhere else in 15th century Europe. And I, of course, also have a complete Burgundian ensemble, which is the famous, for those who don't know what that is the famous look with the tall steepled headdresses and the veils and the gowns with the trains. If you check out my channel, you'll see I have lots of video content on that. Videos of me getting dressed, shorts and long format, lots of details, historical details as well. Shelley Burke, boo to you. Or boo. I don't know. I'm not certain what kind of boo that is. There's no tone in the chat. So basically, I'm trying to see how we can do this so you're not blocking the view entirely.
Can you not? Oh, because my hand's in the way.
Yeah, your arm's in the way.
Yeah.
Let's see, maybe if we rotate a little bit.
Because I
this
have
way.
to hold your hair.
Right. So basically what he's doing is he is spiraling my hair, twisting it, and as he twists it, he's going around with the ribbon and lacing it through the hair that's against my head.
The vague hope that the next lace.
And you split up the hair, you make a ponytail at the base of the head, you split up into ponytail, and then you go in one direction with one of the two ponytails, and then you counterlace in the other direction with the other ponytail going over top of where you just went.
This is a process. I am trying to go quickly, but
yeah, thank you. Let me see. Vixen. Vixen. X-Vixen. I got it. I'm tracking. I had to figure out if those were numbers or letters. Thank you, X-Vixen. And as I said, I have worn this exact style basically for about 2 weeks without changing it, and it still looked pretty okay at the end of those 2 weeks. So it's a very durable hairstyle for those of you who just want to do something with your hair and leave it and not think about it again. And for those who need it, and well, if with this hairstyle, you can still do dry pooing if you would like to. Dry shampoo, the powdered shampoo. Yeah. Hello, Mathan. Thank you for joining us. And I apologize if I mispronounce anyone's names. I get a pretty broad ranging audience. Yeah. Let me know if you have any questions about what's happening here. We are preparing to go out and do 15th century dance recreation. I'll be working directly from a 15th century Italian manuscript, working from the original Italian, not the translation. Last week, we started the process and we came up with what we thought was a pretty fun, sexy dance, first half of the dance. And we're going to go down to the river and finish it up today. So that should be quite a lot of fun, we hope. Today is a turbo dressing process. Normally we take a little bit more time, but yeah, I'm just basically getting dressed to go and do this other live stream. So if you're enjoying this, stay tuned because we'll take about a 15-minute break to walk down to the river and then we'll pick up again, but this time with dancing. But this is a very slow, sexy, flirtatious dance, not a fast dance. So it's, just be prepared for that. There are fast dances in the 15th century, some very fast dances, in fact, but the one we're reconstructing today is not one of them. Yeah, not this one. And if you're enjoying, of course, as always, the same plea that we creators must always make, hit that thumbs up. Next week, or throughout the week, I'm going to be doing some other random live streams on working on sewing and tailoring 15th century garments, if that interests you at all. So hit that notification bell if you want to be notified when that happens. Not that YouTube would actually notify you. We find that the notifications can be really random. And then every week I do a medieval crafting party where I do some kind of medieval handcraft and talk about it and discuss all the fun things I've learned about medieval material culture and medieval history. And we chat and we have a good time, and usually it ends up going for about 3 hours. And that's Saturday morning in Asia, or middle of the night in Europe, or Friday evening, afternoon and evening in the Americas. Yeah. Hello, Queenie. Thank you for that thumbs up. Don't forget to pop any questions you all have in the chat. I am monitoring.
While I try and make this look less bad.
Well, thankfully, we're going to put... so ladies in the 15th century, married ladies, did not leave the house generally with their hair uncovered unless it was to go to a special ball or a party, but then their hair would be extra fancy compared to what we're doing right now. So we will be putting a coif over top of this, as we call it in modern parlance, a couvre-chef in French, a cuffia in Italian, or a kerchief in 15th century English. But we're still doing the hair properly because occasionally my kerchief comes off in the middle of dancing, so I like to make sure my hair still looks appropriate.
It's going to be close.
What's going to be close?
The ties.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, did you manage to use a lot more of it than usual?
Yeah.
Oh, well. Trying for something?
Trying for something. Unfortunately, I'm now just going to pull all your hair out.
That's okay. It will grow back someday. It is hair.
Or we'll just leave it like that. Ooh, that's ugly.
Not your best work.
Not my best work.
Okay, well, this is not the best. This was quick and dirty, very quick and dirty, and
Should actually be higher.
Definitely not the best work. Don't judge. If you look, there's actually footage of a much better version of this. Okay, well, that is basically it. We're going to go ahead and head down to the river now. So if you'd like to tune in and watch us working through a medieval dance, please do. If you have any questions after the live stream ends, pop them in. Well, that's not for today. And pop them in the comments, and I definitely will get around to it. Again, hit that thumbs up, everyone. I really appreciate you all tuning in today, and stay tuned for more 15th century fun, getting dressed, making clothes, dancing, medieval material culture, all of it. Okay, everyone, until hopefully soon, stay creative, guys. Bye, everyone.
How do they keep the hair cover from coming off back then?
Oh, how would you keep the hair cover? Right, hair covers. I can answer that before we part ways. So hair covers depends on the kind of hair cover. Some of them are actually just sit properly and comfortably and they don't come off. Others of them are actually pinned to the hair. And some of them are actually tied on with strings. So here's an example of, for example, a hat pin from the 15th century. You can tell how long that is. They're pretty vicious. Yeah.
They scare me.
Yeah. I am a practitioner of living history. Yeah, I'm a reenactor, actually. So I guess that's a kind of actor in a certain way, acting like I'm living in a past era by experiencing it all firsthand.
But not on TV.
Yeah, but not on TV and not on stage, and only for my own enjoyment, or I guess for your enjoyment here on YouTube.
No, thank you, Thomas.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Hopefully see you in a bit. We'll be resuming in about 15 minutes down at the river, during which time we'll
Maybe
be
20.
dancing. Maybe 20 minutes. Maybe 20 minutes. During which time we'll be dancing. Okay, everyone. Hope to see you there. Stay creative, guys.